Welcome, E2CC fans. This is the world where superheroes exist and comic book talk is the norm. And we are going to be talking about Superman and Lois episode 4 from season 1 today. And I am excited to have here, seems to be the Patrick and Roy show plus, which is great. Thanks, Roy, for being so loyal. I'm here with Bree. Bree, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, why it is awesome that you are here today? No? All right. That's Bree. And we have Roy. Roy, want to plug anything?
No.
Nope. Nothing. All right. Cool.
The history podcast I do, we did an episode about Hamilton, so you can go to the Junto Cast and listen
that's
to
exciting.
that. Yes. Or you can look at the post on my Twitter, which is the Faux Intel one. All right. All right. If I'm going to promote something, there you go.
Hey, I'm just trying to give everybody their opportunity. So we are here to talk Superman and Lois. I know that people are pretty distracted today by a different version of Superman. Fine. That's fine. But that's not what we're talking about on this particular day. I'm sure Mo has all kinds of other streams planned or already done talking about how much he loves the Snyderverse and Snyder's piece of art that he has created for us. But for now, we're talking Jeff Johns, who is like nixed, thrown out, kicked out of the movie world, back down to the lowly television, low budget land. And he's doing an awesome job with Stargirl and now Superman and Lois. At least that's my opinion. So, first thoughts. Bree, you just crammed it in like 2 days, like all 4 episodes. So what is your broad picture for the whole show thoughts about this show? And you kind of kept up with most of the Arrowverse, so you might have that nice big picture to give us.
I like it.
Cool.
I watch all the other shows.
How is it? Is there ways in which this show is different than the other shows in the Arrowverse universe?
Less villains in terms of like villain of the week type crap.
Okay.
It's more family problem focused and him balancing things versus everyone else. They grow with their family by fighting villains and seeing how they work together. There's not like a team. It's just the team is his family.
There's no team Soups to go along with Team Flash, or do they call it Team Arrow too? Like I can't remember.
I don't know if they call it Team Arrow in the show because it's got some. They have a lot of fights in that one. Interesting.
So, Bree, I have a question for you. So we haven't been able to successfully answer this. Why is this Superman and Lois, who first appeared on Supergirl? Where are the rest of the Arrowverse people? Like, where did Crisis on Infinite Earths leave them? And why did Kara not come to, for example, Martha's funeral in the first episode?
I read why online, and basically the same reason every other CW show got like cut off.
Oh, because COVID? Oh, it's COVID did it? Okay, so they're on.
And Supergirl actress was pregnant at the time, and then COVID happened. Because they love their fucking crossovers, and the whole reason Crisis happened was so they could mush their shit together.
So really, the great supervillain of COVID is responsible for this. Yeah. Not.
That's how I'm choosing to believe it. If they somehow make it so that they are in a different universe, I'll be pissed.
Okay.
And if they had brought them together, they'd all have to be wearing masks.
I want them to be in a different universe.
Anthony, your volume is very low. Or
it's okay. That works out because I don't care what he says.
Wow. Wow.
Wait,
no,
your mic is
very far away from your mouth.
Which is odd because usually you have the best sounding mic of everybody. So something.
I'm being lazy. All right. How about now?
That is better. Much better.
But we are echoing.
Yeah. Why'd you have to put that in his mind? All right. So that explains. So Crisis actually is everybody coming together, not everybody getting blown apart. Because so I know Crisis mostly from DC Comics, and in DC Comics, some of the crises are about everybody coming together, and some of the crises are about everybody getting blown apart. And so I wasn't sure which kind of crisis we were dealing with here.
There was also wow, that is an echo. They said that there are other universes that Arrow. It's an echo of me. Oh. They said that there are other universes, but that's how they say like Titans universe. I don't know if Stargirl. I don't know much about Stargirl yet. But basically the whole crisis that just happened was putting Supergirl and Flash together in the same universe because originally Supergirl was NBC, I think.
CBS.
And so she was CBS. So new different universe because it technically wasn't part of CW, but then went over to CW, and the way they did that was Flash going to the alternate universe, and then Crisis happened, and now they don't got to do that anymore. And I think Crisis is what gave him twins, because at the start of Crisis he only had Jonathan, and then at the end of Crisis he like gets a call from Lois and was like, well, blah 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 blah, and Lois is like, yeah, me and the boys need you, and he's like, boys.
That's interesting.
So if it's not, I don't know about the age part.
I wonder if that will play into like Jordan. Also, Anthony, you're muted. You have to like unmute yourself because you're creating an echo for everybody when you want to talk.
Look at Patrick using the magic powers.
Well, I just wanted it to sound good. What were you gonna say, Anthony?
Am I still echoing?
You're very distant again. You gotta French kiss your mic.
Hold on a second. I need to stop the camera.
Okay, no worries.
No. So I had a question. So I stopped watching a lot of CW shows. So did Barry mess up somebody else's kid? Because didn't they do that to Diggs before?
Yeah.
When Barry went back to
Dig used to have a daughter, or he used to have a son, and then it got switched.
And didn't Crisis? They both exist now, right? Isn't that what they did at the end of Crisis?
So many things.
That's a cop.
They did a lot of things. Flash fucked up everything just because he wanted his mom to be alive.
So I'm not really.
Barry is the worst.
This Superman being the exact same Superman that was on Supergirl, because that Superman was punked a lot. Like every time I saw him, he was getting kind of screwed over. Even when the Superman from an alternate crisis came over, Superman Returns Superman even showed him up. It was sad.
Brandon
Ralph?
Yeah.
His evil version beat
that
him
was
up.
great though. I loved it.
So
He's
you're
so
saying
small.
this is the same Superman though?
I do believe it is the same Superman, and the interviews that I watched regarding Superman and Lois and heavily implied it's the same universe and the same Superman on the CW.
Well, and I saw that Stargirl is getting is it Eclipso or somebody is coming in for the next season, so that tells us that Stargirl is in that same universe, because I guess Eclipso has been a villain in some of the other CW shows. So anyways, cool. Well, that gives us some background. And then we go into episode 4. So, Roy, where do we leave at the end of episode 3?
Oh, God. So at the end of episode 3, Jordan was on... Both boys were on the football team. Clark was a unpaid assistant coach, and Lois was at odds with not Lex Luthor.
It's not Lex Luthor.
What the other billionaire?
Jeff Bezos.
Jeff Bezos.
With Edge.
Yeah.
I like to just call him Bezos, though.
Yeah, I mean,
Please.
whatever. Evil billionaire who's not Lex.
He's not quite Lex. He's not quite Lex. He's more Bezos than Luthor, in my opinion. Like, if I was going to put it on a spectrum, and there's Lex Luthor and here's Bezos, he's closer to the Bezos side.
I don't know, not with the end of this episode. So
he owns it. He owns the Daily Planet.
It's true. It's true.
Bezos owns the Washington Post. Like, it's basically the same guy.
I feel like there's been a storyline where Luthor owns the Daily Planet, though. There has to have been one, right?
Oh yeah, there has been. But I'm saying,
yeah,
he does that all the time. All right, so we got Edge. All right, and so opening this episode, Bree, can you walk us through the timeline, because that is your master skill? How do we open?
I just watched it too.
All right, I do know this opening because it mentioned a part of Canada that very seldom gets mentioned.
Ooh.
So Saskatchewan.
Nova Scotia?
No,
Oh.
Saskatchewan, where a good friend of mine lives. So.
Oh, Canada. I thought you said
Yeah.
canon.
No, Canada, the country.
I was like, ooh, what's
Saskatchewan.
part of canon? I don't care about.
So
I think explosions happen. Something about Morgan Edge, and they're like, "Ooh, I'm so evil," and then it goes to something else. I honestly don't remember. That was the one part I wasn't paying attention.
I think the long story short, something alien crashes in Canada, and Morgan Edge gets a villain boner.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I
Got
do
it.
remember that.
He gets really excited. All right. So Edge is going to be a big thing throughout this show. I thought maybe we could kind of walk through the different characters' storylines rather than like go scene by scene. What?
Oh, I just
What'd you
remember
say?
what happened at the end of the third episode with that redhead girl.
oh right.
Yeah. And she like laser beamed people at the end of the last episode. So Edge is like buying up Smallville, and by the end of this episode, we kind of understand why. And it's to get whatever X kryptonite is. I had to go back and rewind and look at the subtitles to see what he said, because I was like, do you say like black kryptonite? Like what kind of kryptonite? And it says really clearly X-kryptonite. So it's like X-Men kryptonite. Which is interesting. Is there any references, comic book genius Anthony, to X-kryptonite before?
I don't know off the top of my head. X kryptonite. But that makes me think
I
of
looked it up.
Superman
So
X. That reminds me of Superman X from Legion. You might know this.
Mm-mm.
no.
So there was a clone of Superman that was made, or they cloned his powers using kryptonite in a way, and so it was pretty much called Superman X.
Huh.
So I looked this up afterwards because I was confused. I was like, oh God, which 50 shades of kryptonite is this? Apparently it's a kryptonite that is basically like, remember when Marvel was obsessed with the mutant growth hormone where you would temporarily get powers? So that's what kryptonite does. It temporarily gives Kryptonian powers to mere humans. So
they're
that's
gonna get
kryptonite
people
does?
addicted.
Like Smallville all over again, huh?
Yes,
That was
that-
a good
well-
thing about
Well,
Smallville.
and that was my concern as we move through this. All right, so that's kind of the Edge thing that's going on in the background. All right, so then the next scene after Edge is what? Bree, you're supposed to be our timeline person.
I
Help me
just
out.
crammed this episode in. I usually watch it twice before. Football? Yeah, that goes to the football.
it's a
Yeah.
football game, I think.
Yeah,
right?
Morgan.
It's a football
'cause
game.
Morgan Edge was talking with Lana's husband. Lana's husband's kissing ass, and then it goes to Lane, and Lois is looking over like, that bitch. He's evil, and I know it, but I need evidence.
And that local reporter's there
who
with
sits
her,
there
like
and
powwowing.
watches the powerful billionaire stare down your wife. and
Yeah.
go,
He's like, damn, I'm gonna get at Lana.
yeah, she's the head cheerleader coach. That's my girl. It's like, oh yeah, you must come to dinner. That's nothing, honey.
Like,
Right?
That's sketchy.
It was super
we good,
sketchy.
yeah.
But he was like, he was into it. He was like allowing, not like, yeah, he was like allowing it. He was like, if this helps me further my
bait is
ambition.
Bait is bait. Take one for the team, baby.
He's just really hoping Smallville doesn't let you rent, Indecent Proposal or any movie like that. So to figure out what his plan is.
So that's happening, and also General Lane, Sam Lane is there, and you get the sense that he wasn't invited, but just kind of showed up, and there was they weren't planning for him to be there. They definitely had not told him that Jordan was playing on the team, and much less when Jordan plays, he like rocks somebody, and Sam is like, "Oh, really? That's interesting. I don't remember him being able to play football." What do you guys think of all that?
General Lane's a bitch.
Yep.
That's it.
I mean, he's right though.
Why is
Is
he
he?
right? Why do you say that?
About what though?
So multiple things. So can we talk about General Lane's, I guess, arc in
Yes,
this story?
absolutely.
So
Spending time with your
Superman
kids is a waste of
is-
time.
huh?
Spending time with your kids is a waste of time.
Oh, no, okay. All right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you think he's right about that?
I think
You a dad?
I think
That's
that
rare.
having you gonna stop coming at me. I'm
Okay.
We have a whole episode. Don't forget now. All right, look. I'm trying to be calm. All right, look.
If I don't show up next episode, you know why.
Out there. All right, that's a good cover for you. I have enough time to get on the plane, get the no. Anyway, so look, I think that this is his job. Apparently, he took over the alien affairs part of the government, and it seems like the government knows exactly who Superman is. Right? They have his whole background and everything in this universe, and that part of the leeway they give Clark is because of the umbrella he falls under. Like he kind of works for us, but he kind of doesn't. It's kind of useful, but he has these lines to toe. And I feel like Lane's balancing act and having another Kryptonian powered being on the planet, even a tenth of what Clark can do is something that should be handled, right? Like there, I mean, if you look at just what happened, he could have killed those kids at the bonfire. He could have killed, one of those other football players. If he randomly gets an increase in strength, he could turn somebody into spaghetti. These are things that have to be thought about, and it can't just all be about feelings. I think those feelings are important. I think they are valuable, but there has to be somebody that's actually a red stamper saying this is good, this isn't. There's a reason why Clark's not in the football team. There's a reason why, you don't have Cyclops trying to have staring contests with people. You have to have those things. Now, the other part about spending time with your kids, the truth of the matter is, and I don't know if they're going to get to this, is that every minute of every day, Superman probably hears somebody dying and hears some kind of crisis or some kind of earthquake or something like that. I don't know if they're going to get that dark in the series.
I think we've already gotten there. I think we're already there.
It depends on how deep they get to that. But if it's going to your kid's recital or saving 300 people from an earthquake or 3,000 people from something else, those things have to be thought about. And what he was trying to tell the kids, he did a terrible job of communicating this and used guilt beyond everything else. So on paper, he is right. How he implemented that is clumsy as hell. And it was interesting to see Clark kind of like, no, this is not acceptable. Like, don't tell my kids not to press that button at a moment's notice.
But I think that's why Lois's speech, which is my favorite moment of this entire episode, is when she steps up to her dad towards the end of the episode. It's so important because he can't be that. In other words, if he is literally just spending all day, every day, saving as many people as he can,
it'll never be enough.
It'll never be enough, and it's endless, and it literally won't be healthy for him. In fact, in many ways, if he probably followed what General Lane wants him to be, he would lose his humanity and probably become the very monster that they're so worried about him becoming. And so he has to tune out the 300 people who die. He has to, and I think they've already talked about that some in the last episode. And then again, in this episode, Lois especially lays it on and says, like, I can't remember her exact words, Bree, you just watched it, but like, I see him holding this like responsibility, this burden every day of his life, this sense that like all of this is like on his shoulders, and there has to be like boundaries. There has to be a way in which he can exist as a normal human life. Otherwise, it's problematic. And Lois is the only one who kind of sees that he's as much as he has superpowers, he's still a man, and a man who only is used as a tool is it's not going to work out. Things like psychologically, like you should, Anthony, you probably have a deeper sense of this, but like somebody who works their job 24/7 becomes something else. Essentially, they like lose their full selves.
We talk about burnout a lot, right? And as Bro said, You know, she doesn't know she's right, why she's right, but she's kind of right. There's an important aspect of spending time with his family, especially if his kids getting powers, right? It's also to give that emotional support to his children, in case they develop powers too, but also for his own balance. You can't save anybody else if you're drowning, right? That's a key aspect. If you're drowning, the first challenge is to make sure you're not drowning before you can go back and help anybody else. And I like how they're maturing the Superman character, that even though you have all these vast powers, work-life balance is still important. We found that in therapists, doctors, policemen, firemen. Like, there's a lot of people, nurses.
And
Look, I have known plenty of nurses that will let somebody drop on their off hours. So I mean, in fact,
there's a law against that. Actually,
one nurse. I was with a nurse and she saw somebody drop in a store. We were at the escalator. I was like, "Hey, we gotta go help that person." She's like, "I'm off." I was like,
"I'm off."
Well,
I could get in trouble for that. There's a law against that, actually.
There is a law against that. I had to get puppy dog eyes and everything like that, the judgment, and then it was like, no dick tonight. No, anyway.
I would not be surprised.
But we end up helping that person. For any legal people watching, they went out. So I lost my. Oh yeah, so it's important to keep that life balance. One of the conversations I loved in this episode was Lois saying, "I know you had a valid reason, but I still feel this." It's important to value feelings, right? People feel like because you feel something and the perception might be different, or the actual events might be different, or the justifications might be, righteous, that the feeling isn't important. The feeling is still important. And the fact that Clark I love that Clark is a good guy that's also trying to figure it out, because
they did it with the opposite too, because they did it with Lana and her husband, and he did not get it.
That's a good observation.
That was very, very good parallelism. But before we leave this, because I agree with Ant, I do want to throw one thing in. I would not be surprised if at the end of the season, it's revealed that evil Superman that Luthor's obsessed with is evil because he is what General Lane wants him to be, where he doesn't have a family. He's not connected to Lois. He started as, I'm Superman all the time. And that means, well, if I'm Superman all the time, I get to tell you what to do because I know better. And I'm going to solve all these world's problems by just being super dick all the time.
Super dick.
You want a God grounded, right? Whether it's to his parents, whether it's to his community, whether it's to his family, whether it's to how his children view him, you want him grounded. And what they kind of pointed out was, a lot of people who have good intentions, General Lang lost balance at some point. I wouldn't even be surprised if General Lang put most of the nurturing duties onto his... We never really hear much about Lois's mom, but I wouldn't be surprised.
He's a single dad. She's dead. He was a single dad.
He was a single dad. Okay, well, so I mean, so as I know there's a lot of judgment right there. I wouldn't do this in a session, but
you're off.
Yes, I'm off. See, stop trying to contaminate with your nurse's ways. But like, yeah, he clearly did not have balance. And even though, the byproduct that would have been Lois was independent, she was able to fend for herself, but she was also probably really closed off. She was probably really that typical way we see Lois Lane, is it was hard for Clark to connect with her, to let herself be open to that. And except for the ideal image of Superman versus the Clark Kent personality, or Clark Kent persona. So you see that. And the fact that she came out and said you weren't there. And yeah, maybe you were saving people, maybe you were protecting the country, but the fact is you weren't protecting or saving me. You weren't here for me. And so
she has a sister too, right?
In the Arrowverse, she does, yeah.
In the Arrowverse, okay.
So,
I don't.
So any more thoughts specifically on the Sam Lane story here? Like any other? I mean, his talk with the kids was intense.
I do think it was stupid that Clark couldn't just pick up this Kilgrave guy, who I forgot was not the Marvel character.
Yeah.
And just drop him off at the prison. Like, it would have took him like a minute.
It's hard though.
It was inappropriate to go to kids. And you see this a lot in people trying to circumvent boundaries. and they'll guilt kids and they're acting away because kids are more susceptible to that guilt and manipulation, and it's wrong. So I do agree that the way he went about it is wrong, even though his mission comes first thing.
Well, because he kind of tried to do it on the down low without the parents being involved, right?
And I don't think he actually realized what he was doing. I think that's just how he's usually used to operating.
Yeah,
I don't think he knows what healthy is.
No.
I think he knew what he was doing, that he was circumventing Clark and Lois, but I don't think he knew what he was doing was very toxic for the boys. Like his,
right, that's what I mean.
Yeah, his intent was not to like lead to almost the boys dying and this kid dying. But intent only partially matters, right? I definitely think that the General Lane storyline was the strongest because I like all the family stuff in this episode. Like that's my through line through all of the episodes, is that the family dynamic remains like really strong, really compelling, like slapping a This Is Us dynamic on top of Superman. That kind of like family drama is like really working for me.
Which is good because that's the majority of what the show is. Like, I don't know what the percentage is, but probably like 60 to 70% of every episode is that.
Definitely.
Do y'all think that General Lane respects or even thinks of Clark as human? Like, do y'all think he looks at him as a tool?
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
but I think he thinks as everybody as a tool, including Lois.
I was going to say, do y'all think that he looks at Lois as another tool to help him control that other tool?
Yes.
I think that's a lot of tools, but
and now one of his grandchildren is a tool.
But
also,
I think
like,
grandkids have a weird way of working. Oh, sorry.
The minute Superman and Lois like stand up to him, he starts that new protocol.
And he leaves.
Because
he
he wants control, and so he's finding new ways to gain control if he can't control through Lois and through that relationship. So
General Lang he's used two communication styles so far: aggressive and passive aggressive. He hasn't been assertive at all in this whole
weak ass bitch.
Yeah.
Annoying weak ass bitch.
Yeah, but he's not necessarily wrong.
Okay, I do get really fucking annoyed every time the kids are like, "Wow, he went to go save my grandpa," or like he went to go save mom. Like, your dad's not like going off to cheat.
Yeah.
He's going off to save lives. Like, you're fine. You can handle a football game.
Well, there's different types of cheating, though, right? So you can have financial cheating, emotional cheating, time cheating. There's a lot of different ways. And again, feelings, especially how I look at Jonathan is the one with the powers, right?
Jordan.
One of the actors is actually named Jonathan, and it confuses me. So Jordan, who I think is I think that because he's so emotionally perceptive, and I think that he's been thought like that something was going on, and he was thought to be crazy.
Sorry, I'm reading comments.
Oh, and he was gaslit. I think that his trust issues are kind of like all over the place at this point, and I'm really curious have we seen any of their therapy sessions yet?
No, we just know that Superman misses them, which I think is more rude.
Yeah, that's
also,
a whole.
Is Jordan? He's sorry.
Are we talking about? Does Mo? Wait, who is?
That's Mo.
That's Mo. Okay, but also, like, is he talking about General Lane, or is he talking about Superman? That's what
he just likes to say too. He might be talking about me for all we know. All right, let's
go. All right, so that's kind of General Lane's story thus far. And then the next scene, you see how I'm just using each of the earliest scenes to launch off the character story. The next scene, I believe, is at the restaurant with Lana and Edge and them. Is that right?
I think so, yes, because it's that same evening, right?
It's that same evening, so we have Lana and Edge and, firefighter guy.
Her husband. Mr. Lana Lang, let's refer to him by his legal name, Mr. Lana Lang.
But I just met you, but you're remarkable and you're way too good to be working at this.
Kyle.
Jordan.
You really did be
Jordan.
working.
Oh, Jordan. Did Ant just break down cheating? It is not. Actually, yeah, the next scene is technically Jordan like fucking people up on the football field, but we can go to Kyle.
Oh wait, it's two on the football field, sorry. It's Jordan on the football field.
Yeah, it goes from the bleachers where It's Sam.
Oh,
and
it's Jordan. Yeah, but
Lois.
that's like an action sequence of Jordan just knocking kids out, right? So the next scene is really this restaurant, and we have the dynamic of Edge, Kyle, and Lana. Now, a lot of you, Bree hasn't been here, but a lot of you have been thinking that Lana is like totally in on this whole thing and is like essentially a villain or like something in the show. And what did you think about how this episode plays?
This episode blew that up.
No! Let's fuck shit up!
Like Mo just barrel into the scene.
I've been commenting on YouTube, and Patrick hasn't shown my comments, so I decided I was going to join.
I didn't know how to do that until you. I didn't even know that was an option.
Okay,
Keep in mind that you just like said, here, click this link, and now you're running this thing, and you didn't give me any like training or information.
Do not do that on live because
Mo be fucking up.
oh wow, really? This is the best Superman on TV or movie ever in life. So let's go on with that. I didn't mean to cut you guys off.
That might be All Might.
You know
All
what?
right.
We're talking anime?
We'll get to that. All right, get rid of him. All right.
Did you kick him? Can I kick him next time?
Wow, like General Lane, Patrick is drunk on power here. All right.
So the next scene, they're at this diner, and yeah, I agree. This kind of blows up that idea that Lana is in on this, and actually, this is the first episode where I really. The Lana story was just boring to me. Like I was just like not into it. And even this scene, to be honest with you, I was bored during. This is when I
got
like
into
texted.
finance to help people.
Yes. Oh, that was so funny. So funny. That pulled me right out of the episode. I was like, what? Like I know bankers and they're nice people, but they've never said to me, you know what? This is why I work for my local bank to help people. And when I think most helpful people, I'm like, my banker, they're the person who pushed all those subprime loans on Smallville. He was doing it for to help Smallville.
This had a wonderful life. Like, so I feel like maybe because I'm one of the people who had the theory that maybe Lana would, because she wasn't Facebook stalking Clark because she still had a thing for him, and the argument wasn't about that because they were doing something else with it. If that's not the case, if there's no other motive, Lana just became a very boring character to me. Like, I mean, where's the drama come from? Where like, there's no love triangle. There's no. I don't really care about her going against her boss, and the creepy taking a shot thing. That was just kind of.
Wait, what? Is she not going to get experimented on?
Well, I don't know if she'll get experimented or not, but I think she may at least just be. She might be being used for a couple of things. Number one is a window into what Edge is up to, right? So we need a way to kind of see what the villain is up to, but without necessarily getting the full picture information. I think of this like if you watch Stargirl, the mom in Stargirl kind of gives us a window into what the villains are up to without like doing a full scene where we like get to see all their plotting. So I think that's part of what Lana. Yep. And also Lana and Kyle represent Smallville as it has existed this entire time before these newfangled Metropolis people showed up and tried to save everything. And so I think they're important for the character of Smallville, which is something we talked about earlier today, is how every DC setting has character. And so they kind of represent Smallville for us in a lot of ways on this show. Like, we don't meet a ton of the townsfolk. A lot of the people who live in Smallville. Instead, we basically have Kyle, Lana, and Sarah to kind of represent Smallville as it currently exists.
So is there a place in the show just to be a foil to the Kents?
You know what? I have to agree with Patrick. I think he has a point on the fact that they are like, that is our look on Smallville. Like he said, we don't meet a lot of the Smallville folk. We don't know anyone else outside of maybe the newspaper editor.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really know anybody in Smallville. So that is our Smallville. Kyle is like the guy who wants to get everything done for Smallville, and Lana is probably like the in between. She's not like fully Edge, and she's not like fully Smallville. She's kind of in the middle. So that is, I feel like
progressive that married a Trump supporter. I get it.
Ooh.
That is kind of the dynamic you get in this episode.
It
is very much that dynamic. And I don't think the show has entirely figured out what it wants to do with Lana, because there's like 2 different Lana Langs in this episode, right? And particularly when you compare where her character.
What are those 2 different Lana Langs?
There's kind of like this like hostiler Lana Lang that's like that's really been present in the previous episodes. That's like kind of weirded out that Clark is back, is confused what's going on. And then this episode, they kind of like do a little bit of a 180 with her. And it's like, she wants to be friends with Lois. She like breaks with Edge, and that whole indecent proposal thing doesn't land with her. And they're trying to do something with Lana. And you can see the writers are kind of like figuring it out as they go. And I don't feel like there's a consistent characterization with her.
I don't think I'd call her hostile in any way. I feel like she's just literally just some small town person who actually cares about her town, and that's why she came back. And I thought the Morgan Edge thing was less of a flirting thing and more of a, hey, you'd be a great candidate for my experimenting on, just like my other girl I got.
She doesn't know that, and Kyle doesn't know that.
She does not know that. But like that whole issue and fight was more on like their marriage failures. But like in terms of Morgan Edge and Lana, I feel like it's more going that way.
Maybe, yeah.
And he's going to frame it as an opportunity to help the town, and she's going to go for it.
She may not even want to go for it, and Kyle may put the pressure on her.
Or she'll go for it because her daughter sees her as a failure and pathetic.
There's that too.
Is that where they landed at the end of the 3rd episode? Was that Sarah viewed her as pathetic? Because I thought they kind of like buried the hatchet.
Oh, is that who Sarah is?
That's the daughter, yeah. Like, because they had that whole like, I want you to be able to figure out who you are and better than me moment at the end of the 3rd episode.
Yeah, and also
what happened with that was she was saying, I just want to know why you did it. And then she was like, I just saw my life going a certain way that I don't think I wanted it to go. And I thought that was my only way out. And she was like, you saw your life going as my life is. And saying like, like the fact that she lives in Smallville, not many opportunities, blah, 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 but she's still trying. But again, she's still miserable. And if Morgan Edge gives her a way to be in Smallville, but do something, I don't see why she won't go for it if she thinks of her daughter and her husband.
Yeah, that's a very reasonable supposition.
At the end of the episode, she's trying with her husband.
Yeah, yep.
She got ghosted by the best guy.
That's the moment I started to find them compelling, is that they went that way rather than just keep playing up this whole broken marriage thing, that the marriage is more complex than just a, stereotype, essentially. And so I actually enjoyed that moment. Okay, so after that, we go to like the party. I don't know if it was a party. Weren't they like at a restaurant or something? Everybody's excited about Jordan. Jordan's getting all kinds of high fives. He's the man, even though he plays defense. And then Jonathan's kind of standing off in the corner, sad with a kid who I don't remember seeing before, but apparently he's been around with a broken arm. This is the moment. I don't know. We can go through Jordan, Jonathan, and then this kid, because they are all kind of the same story. First of all, seeing Jordan be popular was kind of entertaining to see him navigate through that. And I think there was even a moment where he looked to Jonathan for like, what do I do here, man? When they first walked in. So that was very interesting. And then Jonathan on the other side is standing in the corner with the broken kid. So
the broken kid.
What'd you guys think of that dynamic and that kind of story arc that they bring with these 3 characters?
The sort of boys storyline for this?
The boys storyline.
The boys.
First of all, when his arm starts shaking, I was like, oh, here we go. CW, Meteor Freak time. Yeah. We got ourselves a real Meteor Freak.
That phase in Smallville where everybody was getting like meteor powers, I hated that. So,
I loved it.
Really?
Yeah, I love that
Oh,
stupid
annoying person.
monster.
I kind of like it
of
too.
the week.
Yeah.
It's like one
Oh
of those
my
like. Do you ever hear like how like some people with anxiety will watch the same movie over and over because they know what's going to happen and it calms them? It's like I can't watch something if I've already seen it, but if it's like the same formula, I'm like, okay, it's like nostalgic.
And I actually liked it because it set a pattern that then Smallville could break later on. Because like the first season is like nothing but that, and it kind of sets normal so that when more insane big things start happening, it breaks it from that normality, even though it's not normal with Meteor Freaks. But I kind of like that. Like I've gone on this rant before, but I've often watched some of the newer shows and wish there had been just like I would have loved to see Jessica Jones for like 3 cases before Kilgrave and all that stuff started popping up, for example.
So I agree with that, and there is some merit to that. I think that I hate Kryptonite. Like I think Kryptonite is such a boring.
Superman does too. Don't worry.
Oh, you compare me to Superman? How you see me? Oh, thanks,
Yeah.
bro.
Self-righteous, annoying bitch.
Don't worry about that. Don't use a word you can't use to you. That's racist.
What did I
I
say?
don't know. It's some kind of ism.
What did I say?
He didn't say anything.
Okay.
Oh no, but I think that what I noticed from the scene that I really liked was that Jonathan is he's the most mature character on the
He's
show.
too good for the world. In that first episode, I hated him.
And he's gonna
So,
break. When he breaks,
Jonathan is awesome. Well, I hope not. I think it's really clear to me, and we could talk about this. This is what I really want to talk about with these boys, is that Jonathan to me is clearly representing the Kents. He is representing Jonathan Sr. and Martha Kent and their influence on Superman, and he is essentially channeling them. And if you think about it, Jonathan and Martha Kent are superheroes for raising Superman. Like the little kid has all those superpowers, and yet somehow they like instill like morals and stuff into him.
I'm more surprised he didn't actually accidentally kill him.
Yeah. So
did you see that scene with the fake rocket and he just like destroys the house?
Wait, when?
Oh, this was in the 2 minutes at the beginning of the show.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yep. So,
But he's so
anyways,
self-aware.
I think they're
so
playing into the fact that
Sure.
Jonathan.
Now. What about when he was like 2?
Yes.
No, what I was just saying that.
What I'm trying.
Okay, you go.
All right, let me go for a second. What I'm trying to say is I think they're playing into the idea that Jonathan represents the Kents and Jordan kind of represents Jor-El and more of the Kryptonian side of things. And also if you think about Jonathan, this whole time has known who he's named after, and Jordan just learned like 2 weeks ago where his name came from. You have to imagine that Martha, this is the grandson who's named after her husband, right? There's got to be some stuff there. I don't know if we'll ever get that. But I think that Jonathan, they're setting up, and I hope he doesn't fall. I mean, I hope he has falls, but I hope he doesn't fall. Do you know what I mean?
He's going to break it.
And I hope instead he continues to be the voice that, I don't even remember what the name of the actor was, but the dad on Smallville kind of played a lot of times in Smallville, the Dukes of Hazzard guy. I hope that Jonathan kind of has a similar role, but with his brother in this show. Now go, Anthony.
Jonathan's very emotionally healthy, right? And he's very self-aware. And even when he realized, I love the validation of emotion, right? Like, I'm kind of jealous that he did, but he expresses what he was jealous about. He expresses and deals with it and processes it. And I think that's Jonathan's viewpoint. The only reason why I hope that he breaks or something happens to him is that I can see, and I have more faith in the writing because the writing's been pretty good so far, that they'll give him some kind of angle, right? And he, we don't want to just see him just be the healthy person all the time, because healthy people also
unrealistic.
It's not realistic, and healthy people sometimes they get ignored, right? You can have twins, and one twin is the squeaky wheel, and the other twin has this pressure of not being the squeaky wheel and not being the problem, and not being the person who needs the attention and things like that. And so I hope that they go for a storyline where that eventually comes full circle, like, hey, you know, you're important too, and your feelings matter too, because it's always gone to Jordan. So
I
I
feel like
definitely
had
do
scenes
want
like
to see
that.
Jonathan struggle. Like, I don't want it to be perfect. I want him to struggle. I just don't want him to like go. I don't want him to go Lana of Smallville. That's what I don't want to happen to Jonathan.
broke my heart. Broke my heart.
and
Good dive.
also, I don't want Jonathan to get powers either, which is interesting. Initially,
Ever?
I just assumed eventually they'll get powers.
Oh, he's definitely
I
going to
don't
get
want
powers
to-
at some point.
Okay.
I don't want him to get powers because I want him to represent Kent humanity. Like, if he represents Jonathan and Martha Kent, they were not superheroes, but they had a super powered effect on the world through Clark. And also in the comics through, you know, Connor and through Kara. So like even like Bruce, like in the comics, Bruce like basically latches on at times to Martha and Jonathan for help. So if Jonathan Kent the younger can be that humanity, I think that could be a really different way to go, and it does show that you don't need superpowers to be. You're already talking about Jonathan's amazing. He's
But
awesome. He's
never?
doing all this stuff, and he has no superpowers.
But never?
That's why I
Like,
think it's
apparently,
interesting.
X Kryptonite can give you powers temporarily. So sure, for an episode, he can do it.
We're gonna get that storyline where he gets powers for episode. But I also
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Everyone in Flash has had powers, so I'm sure Jonathan, who's got kryptonite,
Yeah.
can have powers.
I mean, so I really wish I could agree with Patrick and Bree about the like Monster of the Week formula, but I think the CW and to a lesser extent the MCU shows like Defenders and Daredevil and all that stuff have kind of broken my interest in that formula because, like,
Did you watch
Flash,
Defenders?
I did. I watched it twice actually.
Really?
Why?
Put yourself through that twice?
The first
Wow.
half is pretty decent. But anyway, it's once Elektra kills Sigourney
I like
Weaver
Iron
that it
Fist
goes.
beat up.
Once Sigourney Weaver gets killed by Elektra, it goes like straight down into the garbage can. But anyway, it's like the MCU thing is, and Flash does this a lot too, and Arrow did this too, where everyone is either coming together or breaking apart, spreading out and hating each other, or then coming back together. And it's emotionally exhausting. And it's like it's always
annoying.
It's annoying.
So
And
let's not do that.
well, which the show hasn't done yet. But there's also the Flash Arrow thing where every single week there's this predictable thing that causes someone to be X, and then the team has to solve this X problem. And that's can be comforting, but Arrow did it for 8 years. Flash has done it for 6 years. And, you know, Supergirl has done it. And it's just like, I'm really bored. Like all of the
Let's
stuff
not
that
do
goes to
that.
the
I
monster,
agree.
all the stuff that goes to the Monster of the Week, including Kilgrave in this episode, like when Clark actually puts the suit on, I get really uninterested in this show. But
So
all of
especially when a sniper's bullet would solve a lot
But
of
I
these
think
issues.
that is the sign of this show being good.
And the ramifications of Kilgrave having a gun that can affect Superman that way. That's
We haven't
really
gotten to that yet. We'll get to that.
I was
But
really bored by the confrontation of Superman and Kilgrave and the boys confronting the Smallville import of the week and all that stuff. Like, I wish it would be like, oh, Superman's going to do something. Family drama, Superman comes back. Like, if it could be where Superman is like Superman, him saving the world is like 10% of the show and 90% of it is the family dynamic of having your dad being Superman. I think the show would be
Superman could literally be a news report where, oh, this thing happened in China. Superman went over and did this. And that's why Clark isn't in this part of the episode.
I think we could get to. I think you will have episodes where that happens. Actually, like I would not be surprised if there's episodes where we don't even know what he's doing. He just disappears, and we know he's doing a thing, and then he shows back up later. Like I would not be surprised if we go there.
One of the reasons One of the reasons I like this show. On Zoom, I'm usually muted. This is so much harder. One of the reasons I like the show is because it has that villain of the week. Well, it hasn't yet because it hasn't been that many times, but I feel like it'll have a villain of the week and the family dynamic and have a balance of it because I liked the whole other storyline of the kid because like they do live in the fucking DC universe. Shit's going to go down.
Yeah.
and like that's going to happen. But also it's like the way that story panned out was about family dynamics and how they're going to deal with when they should call their dad, when can Jordan like step in because he does have powers, is he ever going to learn how to use them? And also Jonathan still doing shit as his own person. Like Jordan wasn't involved with tag at all. Like it was all Jonathan being worried and Jordan thinking, oh, he's focused on the kid who's not a football player because he doesn't know how to be an outside. No, Jonathan was doing shit. And so like I feel like it's still family dynamics with a better angle than just how is Clark gonna beat up this kryptonite freak.
I just want to endorse everything you just said. I absolutely agree. Go on, Anthony.
I disagree with everything you just said, but I can't right now. But one day I will. So, but I also like how they talked about how there was a school, and that sounded shady as hell. That sounded really shady.
Who's at that school?
I like how the boys were like, "Wait, there's a school." I like how they didn't like just let that fly, but they like had a real human reaction to that information.
Like, this ain't a savior school. This isn't the Doom Patrol or anything like that. This is some weird stuff
and
going
Sam
on there.
shut him down. He shut him down.
Also, is that kid just gone?
Huh?
They just took tag away.
He got tagged out.
They said cover stories. They said cover stories and all this other stuff. Probably payoffs. Yeah, that's scary. And we still don't know what this universe looks like. Like, we know in Supergirl they mentioned that Clark and Batman were friends, right? So does a Batman exist on this world? Like, we don't know what
don't know this universe at all, technically, because Crisis changed a lot, and we don't know exactly what changed.
Right. So how frequent are metas, and how are they treated? Are they weaponized? Or are they, I would not be surprised if they're weaponized.
So there's one other dynamic to the boys' storyline before we move to the next one, which I believe is Clark or Lois, one of the two. But and that is the fact that Jordan is feeling guilty that he thinks his powers are what caused this in the boy. It's later revealed that when his like laser beam eyes shot out, that some yellow something was created.
What the fuck is that?
He activated something. I'm assuming it probably could have been Kryptonite X or X Kryptonite or whatever.
It's at the mine. They were at the mine that now
they were
that
at the
kid's
mine.
Gonna go to that school and lose all his powers.
So he activated, and that means every kid now that was at that bonfire is suspect. There's your meteor freaks right there. It's like he literally that bonfire is the ignition point for lots of people getting dumb stuff.
When Clark crash landed,
it was
a bunch
interesting.
Of crash landed with him, and that's what caused all these different
exactly.
issues.
It's interesting that Jordan felt this sense of responsibility and guilt about causing this. What did you guys think about all that? And stop fighting.
Loki thought it was dumb. Sorry.
It definitely felt a little like forced. Because like, what's the one-to-one? Like, his dad's laser eyes never caused anybody to like give people powers. So why would his laser eyes cause other?
That his dad ever told him.
Yeah, that's fair. But like, it just felt like they needed some emotional note for Jordan besides like he's into Sarah. Like, that was kind of his. He likes football. He likes the girl. Having powers and helping people is cool. That was kind of like his whole thing. And they're like, well, we need to have a negative emotion in there too. So they like stir in this like he has some anxiety about this this kid powers. It didn't land for me the way in which like the other drama of Clark and Lois.
From the bitch about every episode.
He is a teenager.
Yep.
I thought his anxiety with the whole thing more was he broke this kid's arm and now he's on the football team like showing off while he broke this star kid's arm. Really? Because he started being like fucking emotional whiny during the meeting.
He didn't seem to
he was like,
care.
oh my gosh, I did that to him.
But he didn't seem to care until the kid started exhibiting powers.
Really? It like zoomed in on his stupid crying face and everything. It like he like teared up. Like he like did it.
All right, maybe.
Like he literally like held down. He's like, I did that, and then like he runs to the kid runs to the bathroom and then goes into there.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then turns out he's also gave him some powers. Did anyone else want Jordan to like shoot them with some powers though?
If Jordan was was like the activating of metagenes, that would have been a very interesting storyline, I think. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I give powers. That's my power.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
cool.
All right. So then we have Lois's storyline. When does Lois' storyline first pop up in this episode?
Depends on
doesn't
which storyline you mean.
Yeah, it's kind of like her and Clark
There's two.
are one storyline, and then the Edge storyline is also. So maybe we should separate those out. So what did you think about the Lois and Edge story arc? Lois as reporter, Lois recruiting Clark to show up to help.
So actually, I was slightly confused by that. Like, did she wanted him to come as Clark Kent, right? Not as Superman?
I thought maybe
That's
she
like-
wanted him to come as Superman.
Yeah, I was a little
Oh,
confused.
what?
Like,
Really?
because like,
I was
like,
thinking Clark. She called him there. Like he's from there. He would be able to talk to them as someone from there.
Okay,
Yeah, that was
maybe
the
that's
whole
right.
point.
well,
Maybe that's right.
some the problem is some of the like Superman continuity, because there's Superman continuities where Superboy is from Smallville, and so Superman
Right.
is from Smallville. That's an established thing, is that Superman is from Smallville, and I like was confused about, does she want Clark or does she want Superman? He could land either way, but
It was not clear to me either, and I actually thought maybe she wanted Superman to show up because I don't know, maybe Superman had dropped at some point that he hung out or something. Who knows? But probably not. That would probably have given away his identity. Probably a bad idea.
I mean,
Don't do
the
that.
fact that Lois has a device that summons Superman whenever she wants doesn't give away that they are married or doing it
Well,
or
but-
Does
whatever.
everyone
Well,
know that they have
that's always,
that?
No.
She does it in front of the villain.
That's
like,
always been
yeah.
fine. No.
Yeah.
That's always been fine because Lois is the first one to interview him, and Lois always, like, everybody already knows Lois and Superman have, like, some sort of relationship. Now, they probably should be starting putting two and two together.
right. Like,
She's married Clark Kent, and he looks a lot like Superman, but
But no, he
But
wears
yeah,
glasses.
long before they were married, Lois
Superman.
had that device, and you know it.
That's true.
So she be calling him all hours of the night, Clark. She be calling him all hours. She got a personal call to him. All right, Clark. That's cool. It's Superman, Clark. It's all right. It's all right, man.
At some point, they had Bruce dress up as Superman and had them appear in the same place to like get rid of that whole concern. So there you go.
oh, was he too busy being in exile or whatever he's doing in Batwoman? I don't know.
So
He's not
I
in
feel like
Batwoman.
I feel like they're
technically.
struggling with the Lois character a lot. I think that Lois Lane, who's like who should be a big news star and have like these resources and contacts. I think her working in Smallville, like I feel like she just had to confront the villain. And that's not how a reporter would actually work, you know. It just feels like they struggle. They struggle with. To me, it feels like they're struggling with her storyline.
I think they are struggling with the job of a reporter, if that makes sense. I
Which
think
they
that
always do.
yeah, because also Kara worked at newspaper too, so it doesn't surprise me that you say that. I think that's what they're struggling with. They don't know how a reporter actually works. That's one thing. But I do like that we got in this episode a little bit of Lois showing frustration and maybe even a little bit of resentment about Smallville life, right? And we really see that when she goes out with Lana, which that would be her kind of other kind of story arc, is her and Lana hanging out. So I like that they're growing that way. I think you're right, though, Anthony. I think Lois is strong when dealing with the family. She's pretty strong, actually, here, like with Lana and with kind of, I don't know, the town dynamics. Her, like, I don't know, main investigative story thing is kind of a mess and a disaster. So I agree.
It took her 4 episodes?
4 episodes.
Took her 4 episodes to say, I need evidence.
Well, I think that the show is falling into like the standard. We talked about this, I think, in the first episode of this, like the standard Lois Lane trap, which is like like screenwriters don't know how to write about journalists, and so you just get like Lois doing a bunch of stuff that a journalist wouldn't do, which is getting in like a screaming argument with the person that she's investigating about, well, I'm going to sue you. You're going to sue me. Wait, I'm going to find your secrets out. No, what about your secret? And you're just like, okay, Lois. Okay, Morgan. Like, this is just nonsense. But like
instead, she should be like Edge's best friend and like
Yeah.
pumping him for all the information. She should have made best friends with that red-haired girl,
Yeah.
be getting drinks with her, and getting everything she needs to know. That's how it would go down.
I do
Okay,
think
also let's talk about the drinks, right? Lana has to bring up that she dated Clark in every conversation. Like we've known
that feels very realistic.
forever.
to
He
me.
ghosted her. He's hurt.
we
She's hurt.
We dated. Did I mention we dated?
I was there first, Lois.
No, I need some real writing of that. It's like, listen, like, look, don't mention this shit. Don't. like, am I wrong? Am I the only person?
No,
that
she does.
No,
Right,
you're
like,
right.
all the time.
All right.
Even her daughter. You were on his Facebook.
right. The kids spilled all the beads.
But I do think that the show has a very good read of Lois Lane as a character. Like all of her interactions with the other established characters are really spot on. Like, and I think they kind of have a really interesting read of the super marriage. Like, and that was the other major kind of like storyline of this episode. And one of the things I like about the family dynamic is they get like pushed apart, but they don't like break. Like the show isn't trying to like break Lois and Clark up thematically, aren't trying to like make the boys hate their mom or hate Clark, like which Smallville would do, where Clark would go long periods of not getting along with Jonathan or not getting along with Martha, or Arrow does and Flash does, where half the team don't get along.
Flash does it every fucking episode.
Right? Like they like always do this, like there's a conflict, but they actually resolve the conflict in like a way that feels real to a family that's mildly healthy. And that's one of the things I like about this show. And same with
It
Lois
also
and Clark.
shows the maturity and length of marriage in a lot of ways. It looks like a 10-year-old marriage in a way that I honestly rarely feel like I ever see in television.
Absolutely. Like the fact that like they can have a fight and get a disagreement, but it doesn't mean that like Lois is walking and like the next scene she's meeting with a divorce attorney. And then, and then she and Clark then have makeup sex, and then Clark goes to divorce attorney, right? Like that's like an Arrow episode, like plot, right? Or a Flash episode, right? Like, but here they're a bit more healthy about this, where they get in a fight, they have a disagreement, they separate, and then they come back and they realize, they reinforce their feelings for each other, which is, much closer to a semi-functioning marriage and relationship than what you get in most genre television, or to be fair, most drama television in general.
There was something really interesting in the conversation between Lana and Lois, and it's been a couple of things that I've seen it, but it seemed like Lois gave an honest answer about like the struggles and challenges in their relationship, and Lana still brought up the mask a little bit. Like she talked about she related a little bit, but there was still a mask. That Bree, you just watched this. Did that? Am I off point on this?
Say it one more time.
There was you don't listen to my talk. Anyway,
It's all right. I don't listen when she talks, and so it's kind of this circle right there.
Anyway, there was a part where they talk about like, it's been however many years and the passion sometimes wanes and things like that. Seems like Lois was trying to connect really with some, like not saying.
You're right. Lana describes her marriage as honky dory, even though we know it's not honky dory. You're right.
Right. That's what I was saying. Thanks.
But that's also very realistic because people definitely do that.
That's the IG. That's the IG marriage.
All right. So then want to talk about two more things, and then we can wrap up. The first one is Clark story arc, which is really centered around this balance of family and also the Kilgrave transfer that drove Bree nuts. Now Bree is very angry because it just would have taken him 10 minutes. But I have like gotten that phone call where like I need to swing by the store and it's supposed to just take me 10 minutes and then I'm there for like 3 hours.
No, he did not need to escort the transfer. He could have done the transfer.
Oh, you mean like just grab the dude and
Yeah. Literally 10 minutes. He's Superman. Why do you need to escort him? Literally flying him over to whatever prison would have been safer.
You didn't have to watch as the convoy slowly got him. You could have just be like, I got this.
Could have picked up the truck.
Also,
I got different plans.
Kilgrave literally tells Superman, he's like, actually, if I had just stayed in Metropolis prison, none of this would have happened. So it's actually all Lane's fault if Lane wasn't so paranoid that Superman like spending
Why does
75%.
it matter?
So
Where
one thing that's
Superman
really interesting, and I really love about this and is realistic. So there's a lot of sense with the Snyderverse, for example, that realism requires kind of a darkness to it and a grittiness to it. There's something very realistic to two things that Lane brings up and that we see in this episode with Clark and with Superman. And that is that the military and the government is like tracking everything he does. And like, if he does anything a little different, they're like, I don't know. And you can imagine the way that like the US right now watches North Korea. And if North Korea sends a few more trucks one direction, the US gets a little tense, right? We get a little tense. That's exactly how I felt like they're like watching Superman at all times. Like if he's a little off his pattern, and at the same time, Intergang and probably lots of other criminals are paying very close attention. Like, did Superman fly through Metropolis today? He didn't fly through Metropolis today. That's very interesting. He didn't fly through yesterday either. That's really interesting. And so there's these ripple effects that hadn't been considered when the family moved out to Smallville, that now we're starting to see consequences. And they're making Clark have to deal with those consequences. And even though he can get to Metropolis really fast, sometimes in the situations Clark is dealing with, 2 minutes is life and death.
Distracted, and they brought that up. And we've always talked about that. Like, you know, why would you rob a bank in Metropolis or Gotham? Like you know.
I would do it in Gotham. Batman
during
is
the day.
effective.
Always during the day. As long as it's during the day,
you're good.
You're good.
But in Metropolis, would you single out, unless it's some high tech stuff that you can only get there and you got to plan it out and all that stuff. So I thought that was really, really great. I also liked how you realize how Superman holds back so much, because he could have took out what's the name at any time, but it was when his children were in danger that he decided to risk using that shockwave smack and that Hawk move. And
he even says on the call, he says bystanders are down. In other words, what he had been trying to do before that moment was take out Kilgrave without hurting anybody else.
Yeah, because he messed up some people around him. And
then he had to, exactly.
So that was something they did that they did really subtly. And even Kilgrave, he doesn't want to hurt Kilgrave. He doesn't want to, like, you know, break. This isn't the Zack Snyder Superman where he flies people through walls and up in the atmosphere. How can I take him out without killing him? How can I take him out without maiming him? How can I do this without literally not a lot of damage? But the minute his kids was involved, it was like, all right, well, and that if you're a government official, that would be very dangerous. That would be very concerning.
But also, that need to control himself is a much better weakness than kryptonite.
Yes, I said yes.
But
yes.
Get ready for kryptonite, ladies and gentlemen, because there's going to be plenty of it.
we'll get there. There's a whole mine of it. We're getting there. So yeah, I love that. I love yet again, in another episode, we see how this Superman is mature. He knows all of his tools. He knows like the ramifications of those tools. And again, yeah, it was perfect. And then him going and saving the kids, you know, that happens. I really love in Clark, I really love the moment where he doesn't go for the Kilgrave escort, because you're right. It was easy to go and do that. He easily could have handled that, but he doesn't go, and he purposely chooses his kids over that, which was a really hard decision that he knew had ramifications. And it showed, to me, that was the moment where I was like feeling it as a dad. And then the other thing I really like in the Clark storyline is with Clark and Lois, and how Lois really talks about like how there needs to be like, I don't know, in my life, it's like, there's how I relate to my wife, how I relate to my kids, how I relate to my job. And I got to make sure that like my wife isn't just the mother, if that makes sense, but she's also my wife. And so that's what a lot of that, the scene in the barn. I love the moment where Jonathan or Jordan's like, Jordan, can you like stop being an investigative reporter for a moment, Mom? Takes her out to the barn. And then there's a thing that comes up and Lois lets him go, but she's like, I'll be here waiting. And again, that like has this kind of mature marriage thing to it that I really, really enjoyed.
So that hit me kind of hard, because the first thing I'm accused of anything is don't therapize me, or don't therapy me, or don't, or don't. It's the first thing. You're just having a regular conversation. So I really like the writing in this. I think it touches people from different angles and perspectives, and that was one of the things that really hit me.
Yep. the dynamics between the family are just like A plus. But the CW show trappings for me are getting like the seams are starting to show a little bit in this episode. Like I ended it, particularly ending it on the cryptid, like that being the second to last scene besides Lois and Clark with the kryptonite. I was like, oh no, not kryptonite.
All right, well let's go to that. All right, so final scene of the episode. I don't even remember a Lois and Clark scene after this.
I couldn't remember the order. Right?
This is the last scene. This is
actually the last scene. Okay.
Is we have Edge and red hair lady going, and we see that they now own the mine. They're very excited about the mine. They break open a hole, and there is a bunch of kryptonite, and that is why they have bought all this land and are planning to mine it. So what do you guys think about that? The ramifications of that? Roy hates it. Anthony hates all kryptonite, so he hates it. Bree, thoughts on kryptonite?
Depends on how they use it. So
that's where I am.
I want to know
your balanced opinion. Boo!
You're so eloquent. I want to see. I want to know how, like, what's her face got powers?
Well, it sounds like maybe they've had some of this kryptonite in limited supply.
So that's how it.
And now he can build it.
Mines?
Because that's why he says now I can build an army, right? In other words, he's had some of this and done stuff with it. We've seen the one guy that Clark fought, right, and that like could fight. And then we have this girl, and now he's saying he can raise an army, and so that'll be interesting. What is he gonna do with an army? What is Edge's motivation so far? Just to be evil?
What is any villain's motivation, though?
No, good villains have motivation.
Money.
I hope not. I hope it's not money, land.
Well, what if I built an island floating in the sky, kept up by kryptonite? Doesn't that that's the next real estate boom? All right, that solves gentrification, right? Like boom,
yeah.
All the housing shortage. You just put the people up there.
I'll be curious to see what we need that soon. In my opinion, we need to see somehow Edge's motivation soon. It can't just be he's a bad guy, right? I need to see what you don't need to give me all the details, like all the secrets, but I need to know why he's doing some of the things he's doing. So
far, the most compelling antagonist is everyday life that we face that Superman has to face too, and having the same.
I agree.
And
that's going to be the focus, which is why I'm not too worried about Edge.
For Superman, because Superman is all about trying to be human.
So, like, I have more anxiety with Clark balancing his work life and his family life than I do, with whatever Edge doing. We'll take care of that. We'll get rid of that.
Cool. So that kind of completes this episode. Thoughts overall? Hopes for next week? Think we'll keep getting some villains of the week?
Only
Do you think we'll get another meteor freak?
Yeah, they got delayed because of COVID. So we get 2 weeks of this and then Supergirl for 6 weeks, and then back to Superman and Lois.
Saying there's only 2 more episodes made me kind of sad. So I mean, the writing must be great. And I
think we need to keep in mind it's not their fault there's only 2 more episodes. It wasn't their intention for there to only be 2 more episodes. So if in 2 more episodes it doesn't end well, we shouldn't be too harsh on.
No, what I'm saying is I'm really sad that it's only 2 more episodes because I'm really enjoying the writing of this show. And I think the dynamics between the two characters and the different dyads is something that I really look forward to. And I didn't think I was going to like this show. Like, I binged it last week, right? And I didn't think I was, because I was getting ready for the same CW formulas, and it's kind of broke those. I don't know. It's been really great. I think that I'm also really hyper vigilant about the CW tropes, like edging in, and I'm like, I'm not ready to have my heart broken. Like I'm trying to give my heart to this show a little bit, and I'm not
in the chat, as each of you are watching this, I see that. Like I see your like emotional, like please, like it feels like it's like a fragile thing, and you're just so afraid.
I've been hurt before.
All right. Cool. Well, thanks everybody for coming aboard. Anthony, we didn't get to introduce you. Anything you want to plug? Anything you want to talk about? Are you going to be on any other streams or anything upcoming?
I don't know. I just kind of show up drunk and I talk. So, I mean, look for me. It'll be all right. No, but thanks for having me. Thanks for social pressure for me to come here when I should be doing work right now, where I should be balancing my work life of saving. But
we all, every one of us. Bree's supposed to be studying. Roy has his first in-person class tomorrow.
I only need 10% on one of my finals to pass my class.
I mean, so the
28% on another one.
I'll remember that the next time a nurse is taking care of me. I only needed to pass with a 10%.
Just need 10%. So, I mean, but as we have to say, you have to balance that with all your different families. Appreciate seeing y'all. I mean, even Bree. To see y'all. But yeah, no, thanks for having me. I look forward to reviewing this show for the next 2 episodes. And hopefully our hearts won't be broken, Roy. It'll be all right. It'll be all right.
Hopefully.
I got faith in the heart. It'll be okay.
Call it, Patrick. You can't.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching. See you next week.